Sorry about that. So let's get rolling right here. So who is this guy? Okay, this is me. This is me and my beautiful family. In this picture, we have my wife Tesley and my two daughters Nora and Lila. Nora is going to be turning 3 this next Saturday, and Lila is just about 8 months. So beautiful family, and I'm so grateful to have them. They've been very supportive all as we've gone through this journey here at Physical Therapy Application Coach. So some stats I want to share with you guys. Okay. The thing I'm most excited about is 92% first time acceptance rate for qualified applicants who are people who work with us. Okay. So, what does that mean? If you are someone who has business applying to physical therapy school, right? So, I'm talking about like you meet GPA requirements, you've done all the things, you have the right letters of recommendation, you didn't miss prerequisite courses, different things like that. Like there weren't application errors. As a result, if those people who apply and work with us, we have a 92% first time acceptance rate for applicants who apply, who use our system, right? And these are people, they're doing like consultation coaching, essay coaching, interview coaching, different things like that. So that's extremely exciting. That number went up from 90% to 92% after this last application cycle. I thought it was going to kind of hold steady at 90%, but we've improved. And that means that what we're doing is working. So that's really exciting for us. Okay, so then on top of that, over the last 4 years, I personally have reviewed 750 application essays and edited those. Okay. I've performed 245 mock interviews. And in addition to that, our individuals who've used our coaching system have been accepted to 134 of the 288 DPT programs from across the country, which is super exciting. And I want to make sure that you guys are aware of all these different programs. Okay. So I'm just going to list, I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can read on the screen here, across the country, right? From corner to corner, from New York to California, from Florida to Washington, like everywhere in between. It's been extremely exciting to have the programs that people are getting into, to see that we're continuing to expand our footprint. And my goal ultimately is, of course, to get applicants into all of the DPT programs from across the country. Every year, there's people who will show up and they are applying to schools that are either brand new or programs that I'm not as familiar with. But the process is still the same, right? PT schools are looking for more or less the same type of things in their applicants. And it gives us an opportunity to expand our footprint, to understand where people are coming from, and also to build up a network of individuals who can help out future pre-PTs as they get ready to apply. Okay, there you go. The list goes on and on. If you want to pause and go back and look at all those, they're on there. My goals for you today: if you are applying to physical therapy school within the next few months, I want to help you come away from this webinar to have an actionable plan that you can take steps to feel more in control of your future as an applicant, and to supercharge your pre-PT application so you can feel like you are going to give your best self to whichever program you apply to. I'm going to be demystifying some of the most common pre-PT myths. This is going to help you stop comparing yourself to other applicants who maybe are doing things that aren't as effective, and to act on truth instead of spinning your wheels with rumors and hearsay and things like that. And I'm going to answer some of your specific questions at the end. I'm really excited to be I love that portion where you guys have more specific situational questions. Obviously, we can't go into extreme detail with each of you because we're limited on time, right? But I'm happy to answer questions as we go through. And I'll share this in the housekeeping. But if you have a question that comes up, go ahead and type it into the chat box. And if I'm not going to address it like right at that moment, just maybe it doesn't flow necessarily with the presentation itself, then I'll go ahead and answer it at the end of the webinar. We'll take some time to just do questions at the end. And I'm also going to provide you all with a special promotional coaching offer to help you level up your application. So that way you guys can really take ownership and have accountability, have direction, have a partner with you, someone who's been doing this for almost a decade, to help you get to that next level. And to make sure that your application is successful, you apply once and you're done, and you move on to your DPT goals. Okay. So if you're excited, go ahead and type in the chat box. I'm pumped to share this information with you guys. Some other housekeeping items: if the video freezes, just let me know in the chat box. Okay. There is going to be a replay sent out. You'll have multiple links to the replay coming out. And as far as that goes, you will have a week to review those replays. Okay. If you have, like I said, if you have questions, put them in the chat box and I'll get to them later if I don't answer them in the moment. And runtime for the webinar is going to be about an hour 15 minutes total. I've added some new exciting content, kind of catapulting off of my previous frame for this specific webinar. And it'll go a little bit longer, but it's all value added stuff, guys. I've been to some other pre-PT webinars. I go around and I look at what my competition's doing, and so many of them are just fluff. There's not a lot of substance, and I want to give you guys only substance so you can have some direction and you can feel like this is valuable use of your time instead of you just sitting here like, oh my gosh, get to the good stuff, right? Okay. I think I'll answer this question at the end, if that's okay. I'm sorry, Ritu, if you're, I can't tell specifically on your name, but they asked if it is okay to apply to a program which just started, and does this make a difference? I will get to this question at the end. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. Okay. All right, so right now, if you guys are currently struggling with comparing yourself to other applicants, if you're getting ready to apply, I want you to go ahead and type in the chat box and say, hey, that's me right now. I want to hear from you and I want to understand where you're coming from, because trust me, I've been there, guys. When I was getting ready to apply, all you're doing is just checking to the left and to the right of you of your other pre-PTs that maybe they're in the pre-PT club with you, or maybe they are they're applying this next cycle, or they just applied and they're like comparing your stats to theirs and like, oh yeah, like you probably won't get in, or like, oh, good luck applying to that school. Like it's not beneficial, right? So if you currently are comparing yourself to other applicants, I want you at this moment to stop. Hard stop right now. No more. This does not go on any further beyond this. Okay. Reason being is it's just not effective. Okay. I compare myself with the one yesterday. Okay. So, Jeezy, I totally understand. You can compare on a daily basis. We're comparing ourselves and asking ourselves, is what I'm doing enough, right? Here's what I want you to start thinking about instead. You have to reframe your questions, because guess what? It's hard. It's hard to change. It's hard for you to identify and to go back and to say, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to specifically reframe how I think about myself when I'm applying to pre-PT school as a pre-PT. So what I want you to focus on is where you're going, not where you have been. Okay. Focus on your trajectory, because a lot of times we beat ourselves up over things that we can't have control over anymore because it's in the past. We have to move on. And so many applicants come to me and they share that they're comparing themselves and they're beating themselves up for things that they did their first year of their freshman year in college, right? And it's so frustrating because it's like we can't change that, right? Like there's so many good habits and there's things that you have to go through the process of growing and developing as an adult and as a student in order to get there. And that's more what PT schools are looking for. They want to see growth and progression over time. Okay. So I'm going to share with you guys, when we're looking at GPA, there are two in particular that I only want you to focus on and just stress out less about your cumulative GPA. So focus also on what is your plan, right? So many applicants, all they do is they're reactionary with where they focus. So instead of saying like, okay, this is what I need to do today to make myself better, they're looking at, well, what's so-and-so doing? Should I do that? Is that good enough? I should probably do more of what they're doing instead of focusing on what you need to do. And that is what makes coaching so cool to me, is each and every applicant is individualized. Each and every applicant has their own path that they have to travel. And I can say this confidently. Yes, pre-PTs are similar in the sense that, you know, a lot of you guys are like interested in health and fitness. You have like some type of movement science as your degree that you're studying, whether that's kines, exercise science, athletic training, whatever. But I'm telling you, no pre-PT walks the exact same path as another pre-PT. I promise you, you've had unique experiences. You've had a different life experience as you've been going to school compared to other applicants. How many of you had family members pass away during the pandemic, right? And your life was kind of put on hold as you needed to deal with some family issues and make sure that your relationships with the people who matter the most to you was taken care of. Like that, there's so many instances of that, and applicants are beating themselves up because life happens. And I'm telling you, we just have to look at, this is where I'm at, this is where I need to go, and this is my plan. Okay. And you're going to focus on making progress, not being perfect. Okay. When you think of pre-PT, PT is progress today. If you're going to be successful as a physical therapist or as a pre-PT, whether you're looking at yourself and your personal plan or your future patients, all you can demand is that we have progress today, that we take a step forward, that we are moving towards our goals. And if you're doing that, stop comparing yourself to other people. Okay. It's not going to be effective. And you need to get people on your team who are going to rally around you and help you focus on this mentality. That includes us here at Physical Therapy Application Coach. You know, it could include your parents. It could include professional advisors that are supportive and are not going to tear you down. Okay. So let's jump in and let's make a plan. And I know it's easier said than done to stop comparing yourself, but I hope you'll take this seriously. When you rewatch this webinar, go back and ask yourself, do a little reflection and say, how much time do I spend comparing myself to others versus focusing on these things that Sean's telling me to focus on? Of where you're going, where you've been, all that stuff. Okay. All right. Program selection myths. We're going to jump right into this. I need to apply to 15 to 20 programs to have a chance to get into PT school. Baloney. Don't believe it for a second. So many applicants apply this way. I call it the shotgun approach. We need to be targeted. We need to be focused. We need to zero in on the programs that we're going to apply to. Let's break this down though, just based off of cost. It costs $155 to apply to your first program on PTCAS. And every subsequent program that you apply to is an additional $60. So if you apply to 20 programs, that's almost $1,300 you're spending on just applying to programs. That's insane, right? So let's be smart, let's be targeted. And that number, that's just your PTCAS fees. That doesn't include like supplemental fees and different things like that. Okay. Another myth that I want to debunk right now. I will get paid more as a physical therapist if I attend one of the most highly ranked DPT programs. This is one of my biggest pet peeves with PT. Okay. So in the business world, if you go and you get an MBA degree, a Master of Business Administration from Harvard or Stanford, compared to, I live in Arizona, right? So if you go and I were to get an MBA from Arizona State University, which is still a good university, but it's not like a Harvard or a Stanford in terms of their MBA program. The people who go to Harvard and Stanford, they make $60,000 to $80,000 more than applicants from or graduates from other MBA programs. So that obviously makes sense that if you are going to go to Harvard or Stanford, you're going to make more money. That program is much more competitive and it's worth the investment you're putting in, right? But in physical therapy, that does not happen. It doesn't. So you can have University of Washington, St. Louis, University of Pittsburgh, University of Southern California, all these programs that are consistently like the top 1, 2, 3 programs ranked in the country. There is zero published evidence that if you go to these really highly ranked programs that are oftentimes extremely expensive, that you're going to make more money than someone who goes to a different program that's less well known. I promise you. I've checked. I've scoured the internet. We in America are just obsessed with like ranking systems, right? So if you go to like the US News and World Report, it's okay. You could use that. But a lot of times the factors that they're including for that ranking system are very arbitrary and it doesn't actually relate to your quality of life as an applicant. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what you should focus on when you're looking at programs. So if we look at, this is the most recent applicant data report. We're waiting for the applicant data report from the last cycle to come up. But this is from 2018, 2019, which is kind of old data, but either way, it kind of gives us a good picture. You're looking at right about 5 to 6 programs. If you round everything up, it's about 6 programs is the average number of applications to applicant. And that, to me, that's a good number. So here's what I want you to do. You're going to create a list of 10 to 15 programs of interest. And this way, a lot of times applicants, when I was working with them before, we were putting the cart before the horse. and we were saying, hey, we need to focus on your GPA, your GRE, all your observation hours. That's important. But if you know which programs you really want to apply to, and we're focusing your application on that, that is going to make things so much easier because we can tailor your application to be more specific to a smaller number of programs. So not only are you saving money with the number of programs that you're applying to, you're also saving yourself time and energy because you're not going to have to apply and write as many essays and different things like that. And you're being more focused. You're maximizing yourself as an applicant by saying, hey, these are the programs I'm the most competitive with. This is where I'm going to apply. Okay. So what things should you look for when you're considering a program to determine if it's a good value program? Okay. Inexpensive. By that, I'm meaning you have a low cost of tuition and the city that it resides in has a relative low cost of living. Then the next thing that you look at is a high NPTE first time pass rate. For me, that is, this is the national licensure examination. That percentage should be higher than 90%. The reason why you're going to physical therapy school is to get a license so you can practice. That's it. That's all that physical therapy school does for you. Yes, there's networking opportunities and there's different clinical rotations and things like that. And yes, those things are important. But I'm telling you guys, if you have your license and you have less debt, you are going to be setting yourself up to be in a better position than people who don't. And I know there's a lot of talk and hubbub about, hey, well, maybe they're going to cancel student loan debt. We don't know if that's going to happen. So please don't put yourself in a precarious situation by saying, oh, everyone has student loans. It's fine. It's no big deal, right? Physical therapists coming out of school are making $60,000 to $90,000 depending on the state and the setting that you work in, okay? If that number shocks you, I'm sorry, go and do some more research, right? But we're not coming out making buku bucks. It's a good living and you can make good money. But if your wages are being hampered by ridiculous student loan debt, effectively, you're cutting your own salary, right? So set yourself up for success in the future. Focus on those things. Then, after you've identified programs that have good high value in terms of high licensure, first time pass rate on the licensure, and low cost of attendance, then you can look at, okay, let's compare the statistics of people who were accepted into this class most recently, which most programs will put like their GPA, their GRE, they may put observation hour averages. And then you can start to see, hey, I'm in the ballpark of this program. I should consider going here, right? And you have to remember, guys, those numbers are averages. Those are not cutoffs. Look at them as averages instead of being like, oh, if the average is a 3.6 and you have a 3.4, that doesn't mean people who have a 3.4 GPA did not get accepted there. It just means there's a variety, there's a range of applicants who got accepted. Because most schools are seeing now that you want to look at more than just GPA to determine if an applicant's going to be successful or not. I still argue that your GPA is the most important factor in the sense of it gives us the most data points over an extended period of time to see how you do academically, which is kind of important. They want to make sure that you can hang with your cohort while you're in school. So it's important, right? I have a YouTube series, which I'll include in the link that of the replay videos that you can watch. It's Where Should I Go to Physical Therapy School? It walks you through this process as if you have zero programs of interest at all, right? It goes through how do you start looking through this and what are some tools that we have available to us to help us. It's extremely helpful. So that link will be in the replay email that's going to get sent out to you in addition to some other information. Okay, so after you've identified these programs, these 10 to 15 programs, you're going to start to contact them and do your research and say, hey, these are my current statistics. How do I align up with your accepted classes? Do I have a chance in applying, right? And you're going to get a variety of different responses. Some schools may say, oh, we're not at liberty to discuss that with you. Other schools will be very transparent and they'll give you information and say, oh yeah, like you're in range with a lot of our applicants. So many applicants are scared to do this because they're afraid of rejection. But I promise you that this exercise of doing your research and then contacting programs based on what you find is extremely valuable and is going to help you so much in the long run. Eventually, we're going to narrow your list of programs down to 6 to 9 that you're going to apply to so we can save you from spending, $1,300 applying to 20 programs, we can cut that number down significantly. And you can be more focused and targeted with applying that way. If you guys have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat box. I'm going to take a quick drink break and then we'll move on to the next thing. Kind of like drinking from a fire hose. It was a lot of information. Okay. All right, let's move on to GPA. All right. GPA miss. If I don't have a 4.0, I can't get into PT school. Baloney. Don't believe it for a second. Okay. I have a YouTube testimonial of someone who has a 2.45 GPA who we got accepted into multiple programs from across the country. Now, this is a cumulative GPA. Okay. So again, a lot of applicants, they think if your cumulative GPA is trash, there's no hope. I'm going to show you that that's not the case. Okay. Another myth, if you tanked your freshman year and your GPA was really not good, there's no way you can get into PT school. More baloney. Don't believe it. Don't trust the people who are telling you this. A lot of the times, these are pre-professional advisors that are like, oh no, PT school is just too competitive. There's no way you're going to be able to get in because you did poorly in your freshman year. Focus on what you can control, what you can change, how you can make things improve. If a program lists their accepted class GPA, that number is a cutoff. Again, it's not. It's an average. It's an average. Okay. They may have a cutoff. Most of the time, it's a 3.0 is the cutoff. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's for cumulative. Most of the time, that's for prereq GPA. Okay. Schools only care about GPA. More baloney. Don't believe it. Schools are starting to see that more and more factors contribute to an applicant being successful in PT school besides just their GPA. And also, more importantly, they're finding more and more factors that allow them to be successful when they're physical therapists. And that's arguably much more important is, do you have the people skills? Do you have the ability to persevere through challenges and different things like that? Are you committed to causes outside of school that show that you can consistently stick with something? These are the things that matter more to schools than that are starting to matter more to schools, I should say. There's also this other myth, and this has been kind of propagated in the pre-PT community, of your GPA doesn't matter. Okay. I think the phrase of like, I am not my GPA, like you are so much more than your GPA. But guys, your GPA does matter. Like we are doing ourselves a disservice as a profession if we are dumbing down the requirements to get into our school to be competitive and to be successful. If we are dumbing it down, people are going to take us less seriously. We should be actively engaged in trying to be the best that we can be as people. And if we're just settling or we're saying like, this is too hard, I don't want to work on that, then you should probably go check out a different job because PT is tough. It's tough. Okay. How does honors influence your chance of acceptance? That is a great question. So Madison, I think honors in general, they're going to see that you can handle a more rigorous course load. And it goes into effect, like sometimes they're weighted differently, the honors classes are. You should reach out to each program individually to see how they factor in honors classes, because in general, I would say if you do well in an honors class, that obviously is going to look better than doing well in the regular version of that class. Is that something that you have to hang your hat on and you have to be in only honors classes? No. But it is a feather in your cap if it's something that you can swing and you feel like it would be beneficial for you. I really have a hard time for applicants just doing things just to be competitive in PT school. Who is it going to help you develop it as a person? Is it going to make you better? Is it going to force you to better master the material? Then yes, I would go for it. If you're just doing it just to make PT schools happy, then I don't know. That's hard for me. I want to go back to Ritu's question. Is it okay to apply to programs that just started, and does this make a difference? So if you're applying to a program that's brand new, right? The danger that we have there is we don't have any data to know how they are performing on the licensure examination. But you better well believe that that school is going to do everything they can to help you be successful to do well on the licensure, because your success determines their success. PT schools are only as good as the scores on the MPTE. And now you're getting more and more transparency with programs providing their first-time pass rate. If you go on the Federation of State Boards of Physical Therapy, the FSBPT, there's documents on there that show you the first-time pass rates for all DPT programs. And you can look and see, you know what, these are the programs that are really preparing their students well. So I think that's a question, Ritu, that you need to go in and you need to ask the program is, what are you going to do as a program to ensure that your applicants are going to pass the licensure examination the first time? If they give you a satisfactory answer, I don't think that's as big of an issue, because remember, always remember, the only reason we're going to PT school is to get our license. After that, like, people are like, oh, I want to learn everything I can. That's true. You're going to learn a lot in PT school, but guess what? After you get out of school, you can go to Con Ed courses. You get to choose whatever the heck you want to specialize in or get it like a niche skill set developed. And then you can really develop yourself as a clinician in a way that is going to focus on what's relevant to what you want to do and the patients that you're seeing. So I hope that answers our questions. I wanted to take some time for that. Okay, so looking at these numbers right here, I had to to make the images bigger, I had to cut off a little bit of the graphics. This is again from our most recent applicant data report that we have, looking at the mean undergraduate cumulative GPA for PTCAS applicants. Okay, so the blue bar is for everyone who applied, and the gray bar is for everyone who was accepted. Okay, you see here we've got the 3.4 to almost a 3.6 range is what we're looking at for that. The average is a 3.5. Again, does that mean it's a cutoff? No. Please calm down. Please relax. Don't freak out, okay? This is not a cutoff. It's an average. But it does give us information, okay? Like I've mentioned, I've had applicants with extremely low prereq or cumulative GPAs get accepted to programs because, as we're going to show in a couple slides, they found programs that looked at prereq and last 60 credit hour GPA, okay? All right, mean combined math and science, which math and science GPA is more or less, it's going to be close to what your prereq GPA is. So those numbers dipped slightly. You're looking at a 3.2 for all of those applicants who applied, and the average for those who are accepted was a 3.4. So not a cutoff, but it gives us some information to help us make informed decisions. Okay, so here are your action items. Guys, you need to know your numbers. When you get to this stage of the application, if we are going to be targeted and sophisticated with our approach of where we're applying, you need to know. Cumulative GPA is pretty easy. Just go look at an unofficial transcript. Most schools, you can pull this up within a matter of seconds on their student portal, okay? The one that's going to take a little bit more legwork is calculating your prereq GPA, okay? So, and what is that? Like, each school is different. I tell people, this is your core prereq GPA: anatomy and physiology, chemistry, physics, bio, stats, general psych, okay? That is your core number. Yes, there's going to be some other programs that require like exercise physiology or calculus or medical terminology class, like whatever, right? So, but as a core, if you got anatomy, phys, chem, physics, bio, stats, and psych, that number is more or less going to give you a snapshot of where you're at, okay? So you need to go calculate that number. You can go online. There's a million different GPA calculators. Just plug in the course, the grades you got, how many credits it's worth, and then plug and chug that in for all those courses I just listed. That gives you your prereq GPA, okay? Last 60 credit hours is pretty easy. Just look at the last 2 years of coursework that you have, since most applicants most students are going to take 12 to 15 credits if they're a full-time student, okay? So as far as that goes, look at your last graded 60 credit hours, and that's real easy. You can just take the average GPA, so your GPA for each of the last 4 semesters or the last 60 credit hours that you have earned, and then average those numbers together. That gives you your last 60 credit hours, okay? Pretty straightforward. And then do some what if calculating to see if you can boost your prereq and your last 60 credit hour GPA. Arguably, your prereqs is the easiest one to calculate, because most programs, if you are taking a course, and let's say you did poorly in anatomy, okay? I'm actually going to give you an example for this, okay? So let's say you took anatomy and physiology your freshman year, and you did horrible in anatomy, okay? So this is an example of me going to one of these general GPA calculators and putting in my stats. So the GPA right now for the current prereq GPA for me as an applicant is a 3.15. Not great, right? Not super good. But if I retake courses, most of the time, programs will take the higher grade and they will factor that in. So it replaces a poor grade. Of course, that's not going to change your cumulative GPA, but it will change your prereq GPA, which is much more accurate for a PT school to determine like how well you're going to do with their content, because prereqs are there to help see how you're going to do with the future content you're going to be taking in PT school. Okay, so let's just see if we were to retake anatomy and physiology. Okay, and I'm not even talking getting like an A+, but if we took that 4 credits of a C- and we turned it into a B+, and then we got an A- in phys, that is a huge change. That makes you much more competitive. Then you're right in line with the applicants who were accepted with the average math and science GPA, right? Look at that. You're right in line. And that's retaking 2 classes. So many of you may be kind of on the fence right now about like, should I retake this class? Should I retake this class? If you have time over the summer and you can retake it before you submit your application, I would do it personally. And that's prereq classes. I got a question here. Let me pull this up. Does last 60 credit hours include retakes? Last 60 credit hours is last 60 credit hours. Plain and simple. So you literally just go back, Ritu, and you look at, okay, these are my last 60 graded credits. What's my GPA for that? So the last 60 credit hours is pretty straightforward. Prereq GPA, you have a little bit of nuance to it, because if you're retaking classes, then you obviously need to see, that's a great question to ask a program. If after you start reaching out to them, say, hey, I'm considering retaking this class and this class. If I perform well, will you factor in my prereq GPA as the highest grade gets factored in, or do both of the grades get factored in? Okay. And most programs are gracious and understand that prereq classes can be hard, and so they'll accept the retake grade instead of averaging them. That's not every program, and this is where you guys have to go in and do your research, because every program is different. Even year over year, programs will change their requirements, and so we have to reach out and ask and say, hey, what are you guys doing about this situation? Okay. All right. Now we have GRE myths. I'm gonna take another swig real quick, unless anyone else has other questions. Is this valuable? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Like, is this helpful? Or am I just telling you old news, things that you've already heard before? Because to me, it's really important to make sure I'm getting a pulse on like, whoa, this makes sense. This piece of information's helping me. So go ahead and type in the chat box. Okay. Saeed, let's see here. Last 60 hours from the last 60 hours before you apply. Yes. So the question is, are the last 60 hours from the 60 hours before you apply? Again, it's the most recent graded 60 hours that you have when you submit your application. Because one of the things that happens to applicants is they're like, oh, I'm going to retake this class in the spring, right? They're applying in the summer or the fall, and then they're retaking a class in the spring. Guess what? Your retake might not get factored into your GPA at all, because the academic update happens in February. And so if you're retaking a class that won't be graded until right before you graduate in April, that class probably won't get factored in. Okay. So it's all about timing of when am I going to actually retake these classes, and is that retake going to factor in so it can boost my prereq GPA? Okay. Helpful. Good. Awesome. Good. All right. So let's go talk about the GRE. Okay. Myths. Every DPT program requires you to take the GRE. That's not true. I just revised my programs that don't require you to take the GRE. That number is going up significantly. There's a variety of factors going into that. COVID caused a lot of programs to say, you know what, we're not going to look at the GRE. Programs in general are just realizing that the GRE may not be as good of an indicator to help determine if applicants are successful or not. So that list is growing. You can easily look it up on PTCAS, and you just look at programs that don't have codes that say, hey, they just don't have a code that you would send your GRE scores to. They don't require the GRE. Pretty plain and simple. Okay. Every DPT program weights your GRE scores the same. No. Some programs really emphasize the GRE. Other programs, you just kind of have to take it, and they just want to see that you've done relatively well, but it doesn't factor in as much. Every program weighs things differently. And this is, again, guys, this is why it's so important that you reach out to a program, because they may say, yeah, that's our average GRE score, but we really don't look at it that much. So maybe you're really strong in all the categories that you apply, but the GRE isn't your strong suit. Maybe you're just not a good standardized test taker, and that's okay. There's ways to get around that. I'll tell you that there was an applicant. He's actually Kyle. Some of you guys may know him from. He's been on. He coaches some of you. He's helping me with my newsletters. You're going to see him more and more. So he's one of my assistant coaches, and he's awesome. When he applied, he reached out to a program, and they literally told him, "This is how we weight each area of your application. Here's a spreadsheet that you can use to see how you would rank." Just because he reached out and he asked. Guys, they gave him the key. They told him, like, you want to know how you're going to stand out? This is how you do it. And this is the score that we used as a cutoff to determine who's going to come to interviews. You know how much more confidence he had in applying to that program after that email? Because he could go in and figure out. Like, I'm telling you, don't be afraid of rejection. Lean into it. Ask questions, and you never know what information you're going to get. It's awesome. But if you don't ask, you're never going to find out. Okay. If I don't get a 300 on the GRE, I can't get into PT school. By now, you should probably figure it out. Not true. That was kind of the old rumor of like the mid 2000s to the mid 2010s. But that's not the case, right? I have to sign up for expensive prep materials to do well on the GRE. Definitely not true. Definitely not true. I'm not even going to talk about that one more. Okay, GRE. So these are the percentiles, okay, of the, again, male accepted and female accepted applicants from the most recent applicant data report. So for the verbal or like vocab section, you're looking right about a 55 to 50, like a 54% basically on average between those two, okay? Go to the quantitative section between males and females. You're looking at kind of 44 and up-ish. And then the analytical or the writing section, you're at a 56 plus, right? Percentage, the percentile scored. So what does that look at? What does that look like in terms of scoring itself? So this is from the most recent ETS GRE guide to the use of scores. So let's look at it, okay? So for verbal reasoning, a 152 puts you at the 53rd percentile. And for quantitative reasoning, a 152 puts you at the 44th percentile. If you get a 4 on the analytical writing, that puts you at the 55th percentile. Okay, so if we break that down, target GRE scores. If a program really values the GRE and you want to do well on it, get the highest score that you possibly can, but don't let the GRE just run your life, okay? So for verbal, if you get the 53rd percentile, you need to get greater than a 152. So I, in general, recommend you get a 153 plus. For quantitative, 44th percentile is a 152. So get greater than a 152, get a 153 plus. And analytical is a 4 plus, 55th percentile, okay? All right, so my number one way that I recommend people study, there are a ton of free practice tests out there, guys, online that you can use to help you determine how you're going to do. I recommend that you take a GRE practice test like within the next week. If you're getting ready to take the GRE, it's going to do two things for you. If you take a GRE practice test, you're going to figure out in real time, how am I stacking up? How am I doing? If I took the GRE today, how would I score? That's going to give you information to help you objectively determine how long do I need to study? What do I need to study? I'm not a big fan of like, I'm going to sign up for some study program and I'm going to work through that. And then like a couple weeks before I take the GRE, I take my first practice test. This process of taking a practice test, reviewing it, figuring out where you're weak, and then studying those areas and then taking another practice test is the exact same process that you're going to use when you study for the licensure examination. Okay, take a test, see where you suck, study those things, take another test, see where you suck, and then you just keep going. You keep going and keep going, right? That is my study prep in general. That's what I recommend applicants do. And for those who sign up for my coaching package, I have a lot more sophisticated process than that. But in general, that's what I did. That's what applicants do. And I did just fine on the GRE, right? And so many other applicants say the same thing. It's not worth investing thousands of dollars in a prep program that essentially, yeah, there's tips and tricks that you're going to learn, and it's important to study, but you're going to figure those things out by doing the actual thing, which is taking the test. Like, why are we studying? To take a test. And we all know that when you're like an athlete or you're competing in anything, the best way to determine how you're going to perform in the real deal is by doing as close as you can to the real deal. So take practice tests. Check with peers, friends, family members, if they have unused study materials that you can use. I did this and I got a ton of free practice tests because people are like, yeah, I used one of them. I had like 2 or 3 left. Here you go. And I got free practice tests. So use your network. Look around. Ask people on your pre-PT club groups. Ask people that, you know, maybe that are like students that still have their old GRE book is just sitting in their house, right? Like it's not being used. Go ahead and use those things. And then if you want more help specifically with the GRE, pay attention for my coaching offer for some other things that I'm going to offer to you. Okay, observation hours. I can't believe we're already at 45 minutes. Are you guys doing okay energy-wise? Are we good? Go ahead and type in the chat box if you're like drained. I'm hoping that you're getting excited and you're being energized and you've got some stuff to start working on. But yeah, go ahead and drop in the chat box. I'm going to take another swig real quick. Just wet the whistle. Okay, perfect. Good. Energy's good. All right, observation hours. Okay. I need to have 1,000 hours to be a competitive applicant. I don't know where this number came from. Okay. Good. Everybody's doing well. Thanks, guys, for staying engaged and staying dialed in. We're on the home stretch here. So observation hours myths. I need 1,000 hours to be a competitive applicant. Not true. It's just not true. Because of COVID, I don't need to try to get observation hours to learn about the profession. Lazy. I don't like this mentality. Okay. I can't get observation hours due to COVID precautions, so I shouldn't apply. Also, not a good idea. Please don't do this. Please don't discount yourself if you're in an area. Like, I feel like the vast majority of the country now is the turtle's coming out of its shell a little bit, and we're starting to have an easing of some restrictions, and there's going to be more opportunities for people to get in, but there's some regions of the country that are still locked down really tight, and so applicants can't get in. But in general, don't give up just because there's COVID restrictions, okay? Observation hours can't make up for weak points in my GPA and GRE. If you follow my channel long enough, you know that I look at if you can be weak somewhere, you can be strong somewhere. Just because you're weak with your GPA or your GRE doesn't mean that your observation hours can't help you. So let's dial into this a little bit more. Okay, so COVID sucks, but don't give up. Okay, the number one way that I've seen applicants be successful is come in and share with clinics what can you do for them to make their lives easier. I'm telling you this now. So I forgot to talk about this earlier, but I'm a multi-site clinic director. My full-time job is I'm a multi-site clinic director for ATI Physical Therapy here in Arizona. Shout out to the Casa Grande and Maricopa clinics, doing awesome. And I can tell you that disinfecting equipment is one of the biggest pains in the butt right now. So ATI currently isn't allowing people to come and observe, but if I could have someone come and shadow and they would just help me clean off equipment and then watch over my shoulder while I'm doing stuff, oh, that would be amazing. Offer to come in and help, do laundry, disinfect, do things just to be helpful instead of being like, hey, I need observation hours for PT school. Can you help me? Say, hey, yes, I need observation hours, but I would love to come in and help you guys disinfect your equipment, to help any way that I can to make your lives easier so you guys can just focus on your patients and getting your notes done, right? Perform a virtual PT interview to learn about the profession and to learn about settings, right? Like if you can't get into an inpatient setting right now, at least try to reach out to an inpatient PT and ask if you can interview them, okay? There's a section in the application where you can enter, like, this is how COVID messed up my application. And you can put in there, despite the fact that I couldn't get into an inpatient setting, I was perseverant. And these are the things that I did to show that I really care about the profession and I want to learn about it. So do interviews, reach out to inpatient PTs, see if there's a way that you can talk to them or maybe meet with them outside of the clinical setting to interview and get to know them and ask questions and pick their brain. You can research current events on the APTA's website. Start looking at how has COVID changed PT, right? I think a lot of people have seen the value of mobility, helping people to be active as they're recovering from COVID. PT has taken a step forward in terms of our need in the healthcare system. Okay, so if you can get observation hours, which I believe is the vast majority of applicants right now, please don't put your head in the sand and just pretend like you don't need to get hours. You need to. The expectation's there. And let me put it to you this way. Let's say I have two applicants that are equal. Okay, they have the same GPA, the same GRE scores, and one of them has observation hours and one of them doesn't. Which applicant would you pick? Probably the one that has hours, right? Because it shows that they've been committed, they've worked hard, and obviously it all depends on what's going on with that other applicant. But if everything else is equal, they're from the same state, they have the same everything else, and one of them has observation hours, I'm going to go with the one that has observation hours. I don't know about you, but that's just me personally. Okay. So my golden rule is it's not about the quantity of hours. It's about the quality of hours that you have. So some of you can't get jobs as a tech or as a rehab aide or whatever. Okay. Whatever they call them in the state that you're in. So my recommendation is you get 300 to 500 hours in 4 to 6 different settings. So it's called the 3-5-4-6 rule. Okay. And those different settings include outpatient, inpatient, home health, peds, neuro, right? You're observing different patient population types. And as long as you have a diversity of hours, that's better than if someone has 10,000 hours of outpatient orthopedics, right? As opposed to the applicant that's listed in the PowerPoint slide, someone who has 300 hours of outpatient ortho, inpatient, pediatrics, and home health. Who do you think has a better idea of the full scope of PT? The person who has a broader diversity of hours. So I'm telling you this as someone who is, when I was at NAU, when I was at Northern Arizona University, I helped interview applicants coming to the next, who are applying to the next class, okay? And the thing that made my professors and alumni clinicians who were helping interview more excited was if they had diversity and they'd been in inpatient, they'd been in skilled nursing, they'd been in more unique settings, and they've seen, like a vestibular clinic, or they've seen like hippotherapy, or they've seen aquatic rehab or home health, right? Like just go somewhere and leave no stone unturned. Try to look for unique experiences and try to find those instead of being like, outpatient ortho is easy. Everyone's gonna get outpatient ortho. And that's where the bulk of your hours probably are gonna be. But then go out and try to get 20 to 30 hours in more unique settings and then roll from there. Okay. All right. So action items. If you have observation hours, you should have a log that has every hour in it. So you know your numbers, you know where you stand. Okay. You need to start reaching out to the PTs that supervised you when you were there and make sure that they remember you and they are willing to verify your hours within the next few months. Okay, because once you enter your hours into PTCAS, PTCAS is you have to get your hours verified. I recommend that everyone get their hours verified, regardless, right? Like you should have a licensed PT saying, yes, this person was here, because otherwise it just looks kind of fishy if your hours aren't verified. Make a game plan to obtain as many hours you can in as many settings as possible. If COVID's preventing you, contact the programs you're interested in applying to and ask them how they are accommodating applicants who are unable to get observation hours. Okay, that's the number one recommendation. If you can't get observation hours, do your research, identify all the programs that you want to apply to, and then email them and say, hey, I'm doing everything I can to get observation hours, but right now I currently am unable. How is your school viewing this type of situation for other applicants? Okay. And remember guys, diversity is more important. So the quality of hours is more important than the quantity of hours. All right, I got a question. Let me pull this up. What if you get 3 settings in the same place? That's fine. As long as you're observing different patient populations, like I'm assuming, Ritu, you're talking about you have you're in like a hospital system. So you can do like inpatient, outpatient, like neuro, pediatrics. It's like all attached to a hospital network. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. But yes, that's totally fine. You're in a different specialty within the same hospital setting. That's just fine. It's just fine. Okay, next. Almost there, guys. Hang in there. Whew. Take another drink. All right, references. Letters of recommendation myth. PTCAS allows me to enter 4 references. Wrong, false. You now have 5. They changed this as of, when was it? 2 cycles ago? I can't remember. 2020, when 2020 and the 2020-2021 cycle, that's when that changed. There's no difference between asking someone to write me a letter of recommendation versus asking them to write me a strong letter of recommendation. I'm going to dial into that a little bit more in just a minute. There is a big difference. And I can wait till the last minute to ask a reference to be a reference. By now, you should know planning, preparation is number 1 key to success here at Physical Therapy Application Coach, okay? No way around it. The sooner you reach out to people, the better. Okay. There's a question from Ava. So I only decided I wanted to do PT school in my junior year. I'll get all my prereqs, but not by the time of my application. How should I handle that when it comes to applications? So Ava, this kind of goes out of order, and I should have probably waited to answer this at the end, but you can, depending on the program, you can have 2, sometimes even 3 prereqs in progress by the time you apply. But the number 1 thing I recommend is you have to email the programs that you are applying to and ask them, give them the specific situation that you have, and ask if it's okay if you are submitting your application at whenever you plan to do so. Because they may say, we need you to have more of your prereqs completed before you apply. And that just gives you information to plan your application and make plans going forward. Let's see here. If a school only requires 2, should I submit more? Does it increase my chance of getting in? Are you talking about references, Jeezy? Sorry, and I apologize if I'm butchering your name, but that's the explanation. So I'm assuming that requires 2 references. Let's do this. Okay. So references. Here's my breakdown. Okay. 5. You want to have as many people going to bat for you as humanly possible, saying that, hey, Ava's awesome, Richu's awesome, Jeezy's awesome, Saeed's awesome, all these people, right? So if you think you want someone to be a reference, ask them now, ask them early. Here's my breakdown of what you should be doing in terms of who your references should be. 2 should be from licensed physical therapists, 1 from a science professor, okay? This should be someone in your major or a prereq professor. Science professors are better because obviously it's a harder course, okay? 1 from a supervisor or manager outside or coworker outside of physical therapy, and 1 from someone else outside of your family who will write you a strong letter, okay? One thing I recommend in general is you make a list for all of these categories, okay? Consider, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Consider providing your references with an updated copy of your resume or a brag sheet. Okay, a brag sheet is a concept that I had seen. It was someone who actually was a pre-PA coach who'd mentioned where you just write down like highlights about what you've done while you've worked with that person. So if it's a professor, you could talk about a study group that you created or you helped tutor someone. If it's a physical therapist, you could talk about as the lead clinician, as the lead tech. These are all the things that I did, right? It's just to kind of remind them about how awesome you are. And if you give that to them, you know that they at least have on their mind some things that you've done that are exceptional, and that gives them more to write about. And we want it's part of the what I call throw mud at it section, where you just want as much goodness as possible piled onto this. Got someone in the chat. Let me pop over here. Okay, Ava was just saying that. You are welcome, Ava. Okay. So here's your action items, okay? Identify and contact your potential references. So make a list. Say, here's all of the PTs I know. Here's all of the professors I know, that are willing to write me a strong letter of recommendation, okay? Here's all of the people outside of PT that I really would like to write me a letter. And then you just rank those people. Here's my number 1, my number 2, my number 3 choice in terms of who will write you the strongest letter, okay? A person who will write you a strong letter is someone who knows you well and has known you for a longer period of time, because they have a relationship built up with you, okay? Asking someone to write you a letter of recommendation versus write you a strong letter of recommendation is completely different. So how I would phrase that is, hey, Professor Jones, would you be willing to write me a strong letter of recommendation? If so, what, or better yet, Professor Jones, what do I need to do to get a strong letter of recommendation from you for physical therapy school? I've really enjoyed being in your class, right? And if you're nervous about asking that, guess what? In my coaching package, I have a template for you to use. So you can send an email or you can have a script ready to go, and I've already got it ready for you. Everything you need to include. So I'm just saying, a little plug there. Oh, wait, I need to go back. So update your resume and share it with your reference and put together a brag sheet. So if you got those things ready, you're ready to go. And then let your references know, hey, as soon as PTCAS opens, end of July or sorry, end of June or beginning of July, then I'm going to be sending you a reference request. I wanted to ask you early because I know that you're busy during the summer. A lot of people, a lot of PTs and a lot of like pre-health science professors are very busy writing application letters and letters of recommendation, okay? So some professors or some PTs, they might have a cutoff and they might say, I'm only going to write like 5 or 6 letters because I just get overwhelmed, right? And if you don't ask early, you might not make that list. You don't know until you ask, what do I need to do to secure a strong letter of recommendation from you? Okay, hope that's helpful. All right, essay myths, okay? PTCAS essay prompt is the same every year. Not true. No one is actually going to read your essay, so I'm not going to worry about it. This one drives me nuts. As someone who's reviewed, in total, I know I've reviewed over 1,000 PTCAS essays and application essays in general while I've been coaching. I know that. I don't have the specific number, but just over the course of almost 9 years, I guarantee that. The last 4, I've got 750, guaranteed. There's nothing I can do to start working on my essays until I know the prompt. Also, this has been disproven, okay? My coaching system doesn't change with the prompt. It's always the same, and I'm going to talk to you about why that is. And last one, my essays can't make up for weaknesses in my GPA, GRE, or observation hours. Patently false. Not true. Okay. A lot of people think that the essay is just kind of a throwaway portion of the application. It is not. I promise you, I have had applicants literally tell me that they were invited to an interview because of their essay, and if their essay wasn't as strong as it was, they wouldn't have got invited. I've had applicants that I've worked with recently, like the last 2-3 years, tell me that their essays are what got them to the interview. And that is what an essay is for. An essay is, if we look at this, essays give people an opportunity to get to know you in a personal way for the first time. Otherwise, you're just numbers on a spreadsheet, okay? But let's talk about the prompt a little bit more. Historically, the PTCAS essay prompt stays the same for 2 consecutive application cycles. We had the same prompt for the past 2 application cycles, so this year we're due for a new one. And the last prompt was awful. Hopefully this one's going to be better. But I don't really freak out because there's going to be pre-PTs or people in the pre-PT community who are like, oh, I got a leak for the new prompt. And they're the first ones and they start sharing it. I don't really care. So I'll, I have applicants prep the same way, regardless whether we know the prompt or whether we don't. Because guess what? The essay itself its main job is to give them a compelling reason to choose you, regardless of what the prompt is, okay? So through the 4 essay prompts that I've been through, the PTCAS essay prompts, while I've been coaching, I've had 4 different prompts, and they're all looking for the same 2 central themes. Number 1 is tell me your unique story as a pre-PT. And number 2 is show me the skills and attributes that you have that will empower you to be an awesome PT. That's it. So here's your action items for essays. Start brainstorming what unique experiences and stories you have that are related to physical therapy or just related to your life in general. What experiences have made you into the person that you are today? I also want you to identify personal strengths, characteristics, attributes that you want to highlight. Make that list as well. Start brainstorming it. This is the next big one, okay? My PTCAS essay webinar is Arguably, that's my biggest and most widely attended event of the year because everybody knows. I'm not saying this to my own horn. I am the best pre-PT coach for essays in the industry. Okay. I have the most reps. I have the strongest track record. And I know that my system works regardless of what the prompts are. And I've had more compliments from advisors and applicants. Like, it works. And it's a simple process that can work for anyone, regardless of how strong of a writer they are. Okay. So registration is going to open up sometime in early June for that webinar, for my PTCAS webinar, my PTCAS essay webinar. And then it'll likely be held kind of at the end of June or beginning of July. Okay. And it's going to be gangbusters. There's going to be a lot of people who attend. So keep your eyes peeled for that. By already signing up for this webinar today, you're going to be added to my email list if you aren't already subscribed. And so you'll get access to that. Okay. And then after you do your brainstorming, don't worry about your essay. Okay. You'll come to the PTCAS essay webinar. I'm going to give you a special hookup for my coaching package. And then you can implement all the brainstorming stuff you've done and start writing and actually making a difference. Right now, your priority should be, hey, figure out my program selection, look at my GPA, see if I can make improvements, take the GRE or make a plan for it, get my observation hours sorted out, and get my references ready to go. Between those 5 things, like, you've got plenty to do. So focus on doing those things really well. And then if you've got extra time, work on your essay a little bit. Start doing some brainstorming. Just lay the groundwork so that way when the time comes to actually start writing your essay, we can knock it out of the park. And yes, the prompt factors in a little bit, but it's mostly like, I'm going to introduce the same concepts that I talked to you about regardless. And then I'll kind of tailor it to the prompt. So don't worry. We don't have a prompt yet. We don't need to fuss and worry about it. Start brainstorming and start working on these key concepts. All right, I told you I'd give you a little bonus about PTCAS, okay? Life hacking PTCAS. I'm not going to go into this in a ton of detail, but there are certain areas of the application that you can enter in early, and it will carry over to the next application cycle. Every year, PTCAS wipes its database of a lot of information, and then there's some areas of the application that will carry over, and it's basically, even if you didn't submit your application, it will be retained as like a reapplicant. Okay. So if you've done all the stuff you need to for GPA, GRE, observation hours, references, program selection, your essay brainstorming's done, and then you want to get into PTCAS, then you can do this. So when you log into PTCAS, the stuff that you can enter early is all the sections under the personal information info, all the sections under academic history, and then these 3 sections: experiences, achievements, licenses, and certifications under the supporting information. Those things you can enter early, and they will carry over to the next application cycle, because come May-ish, PTCAS will wipe the system. It will retain some of the information. And then when you go to log in and start your application for the 2022-2023 application cycle, that information will be retained. Okay. And there's a lot more detail that I could go into about that, but that's in general what you can focus on. I want to make sure I shared that briefly, but if you're confused by this, don't worry about it. Okay. This is like the lowest on my priority list. Some applicants are like, I'm applying to a rolling admission program, and I want to submit my application the first day. Go for it. That's completely in your privy to do that. You can choose to do that. And that's for my eager beavers. If you're like, yeah, I'm good, I've got enough stuff to work on. Good. I'm glad you're realizing it's okay to put limits on yourself and say, you know what, I'll get to PTCAS when the time comes. And Sean's going to share with me how I can go from having nothing entered in PTCAS at all to having my essays done and everything completed with PTCAS within 2 weeks. Okay. You can obviously go faster or slower than that. But for me, the optimal pacing is, guess what? I know you guys are working, you go to school, you've got vacations coming up, you've got plans with your family and your friends. I know that you're not going to be, maybe you are, I don't know. Maybe you're going to be cloistered like a monk and you're just going to hide in your basement for a week and do all your PTCAS stuff. If that's what you want to do and that's going to help you be less stressed out, go for it. But for the vast majority of applicants, we have a life to live. We've got to eat, we've got to work, we've got to go to school, we've got to spend time with our family and friends. So that 2-week window is saying, hey, let's spend a few hours each day on the things that matter the most. And within 2 weeks, you can have your essay done, you can have all your information entered, and I can submit. And by, if the application opens July 1st or the very beginning of July, then by the middle of July, I can submit my application. And that's plenty early, guys. I promise you, that's plenty early. Okay. You may feel like this dog right now. You've been drinking from a fire hose, lots of information. Thank you for hanging in there through all this stuff. Okay. Just got another few minutes here. I'm going to talk about the coaching offer. So I gave you all this information, right? And the vast majority of people who attend webinars, they're like, wow, that was great. I got all this stuff to work with, but they don't take that information and apply it and have it actually lead to results. And I'm going to tell you how you actually can take what we've learned today, get it personalized to you so you have an individual plan, and then translate it into results. One-on-one coaching, personal coaching with myself and with Kyle, okay? So Kyle knows my system. He's been through it. He and I have worked together to refine it and to make it even better than years previous, okay? So you get one-on-one coaching that's personalized, it's focused on you, it gives you specific direction and deliberate direction. So you can be confident, so you can feel like you have a sense of control, and you can have accountability. You're going to have myself and Kyle, we're going to follow up and do another coaching call, and you need to come back and say you've done your homework. The accountability piece is arguably the most important thing to any lasting change with people. And having peace of mind, guys, I can feel the collective anxiety of the pre-PT community continuing to rise. Because it's like this, you're junior and then you start your semester before, your winter or spring semester right before you're getting ready to apply. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's time to apply. And then anxiety is off the Richter scale and everybody's just comparing themselves to other people. You can learn how to dance in the rain and to not have that issue, to not have comparison, to not compare yourself to other applicants, to say, you know what, I'm working with Kyle, I'm working with Sean. I know exactly what to do. I got my plan, I'm executing, and I can rest assured that I'm doing everything I need to be successful. Wouldn't that be awesome to have that? So, in addition to that, let me go through what you're getting in this coaching package. So you have a list of the top 50 least expensive programs in the country, and we go through and we give you all of this information, okay? Tuition, lowest cost of tuition, cost of living, GPA, GRE, and first-time pass rates. Remember all the stuff I told you to look at? Can you imagine how much time you would save if you don't have to research all that for yourself? Now, this in and of itself, if you get to the right program that will allow you to save money, this could save you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. In addition to that, you want a list of programs that emphasizes looking at your last 60 credit hours? Maybe that's your strong suit. I got that list for you. An application calculator that factors in all of the major qualitative aspects of your application, and it gives you an idea of, oh my gosh, this is the weakest area of my application. I'm going to talk to Sean and Kyle about this is what I need to do, okay? A comprehensive list of the best free GRE prep resources available. This can save you anywhere from $500 to $2,000 plus. Value's adding up, folks. A list of DPT programs that don't require you to take the GRE. I mentioned that you can go on PTCAS and look this up, but guess what? I've already done it for you. Save you time, save you energy. Focus on looking at that list. A template of how you can ask your references to write you strong letters of recommendation. If this is something you're nervous about, you literally fill in the blanks and copy and paste it and send it in an email. Or you have a script and you kind of practice it a little bit and you ask them in person. Easy. I'm saving you time, giving you peace of mind, decreasing your stress, optimizing your efficiency. Okay? This is my baby. The most effective and efficient PTCAS checklist in the pre-PT community. I told you about it, right? While still respecting that you have a life, helping you learn how in 2 weeks to go from having nothing filled out in PTCAS to having everything filled, and you can submit to one application, at least one school, okay? Because some of you may not know this, but you don't have to apply to all of the programs at the same time. You can submit an application to a program and then go back later and then add a program, finish all the program specific questions that they may have, and then send off your application. Pretty cool, right? I help you walk you through that process with this checklist. Okay. You go step by step. You don't have to wander around and be like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff to fill out in PTCAS. What's the best order to do it in? I got you covered. You won't even have to think about that. You're going to see your other friends who are pre-PTs kind of spinning their wheels. And you're like, hey, well, I know I need to work on this, this, and this today. Knock it out, move on. Okay. Peace of mind, control, focus, deliberate action. That's what you're getting. 2 30-minute one-on-one coaching calls. Okay. I've seen a lot of pre-PT coaches out there. They have like a Zoom call with like 30, 40 people. How can you accurately really feel like you're getting the best bang for your buck if I'm not creating a personalized application plan for you? Really, that's honestly how I feel. Is like, I've been in groups like that, and I'm like, I have questions, right? I've paid money to be a part of this group. I have questions, but then you have the one person who just talks the whole time, or you feel like there's not enough time for you to ask your questions. Guess what? It's you and me, or Kyle and you, across either a phone call or a Zoom call, talking to each other about what do we need to do to get you where you want to go. And that's it. So this is all about investing in yourself and in your future, guys. Learning about how to focus on what you need to do to be the best applicant you can be without comparing yourself to others. You're going to significantly increase your likelihood of acceptance. Remember that 92% for qualified first-time applicants, right? That's I don't know. I don't know any other pre-PT coaches who have stats on that, but we do. Okay. Taking the leap. This could be one of the greatest financial decisions you've made thus far in your life. Thinking about minimizing your student loan debt, cutting down on your cost of applying to programs, cutting down on your cost for GRE prep, so many other things. And in addition to that, the people who sign up for this coaching package are going to be the first people to get access to my essay coaching and my interview coaching. And they're going to get promotional discounts compared to people who just sign up, right? So if you want to be on the fast track to get your whole application process streamlined, this is the way to do it. So if you go on my website right now, you can purchase this consultation coaching package for $180 or 2 payments of $90 a month. There's a 100% money back guarantee for 30 days. Okay, so you can get signed up, no questions asked. But guess what? We're gonna up this. You can use, and I'm going to put up this offer right now. Okay, you can use the promo code PREPT15 to get 15% off this consultation coaching package. So you can get all of this value for a one-time purchase of $153 or 2 monthly payments of $76.50. Guys, this promotion is limited though. It's only going to last until Monday, March 8th at 11:55 p.m. Okay. I think actually that date is off. Let me look. 8th is a Tuesday. So this lasts until March 8th, which is a Tuesday at 11:55 p.m. Okay. There's only 20 spots available, and those spots are going to fill up quickly. I assure you. Okay. They're going to fill up fast because there are other applicants who are looking. I'm not asking you to compare yourself to them, but they see the potential. They see the opportunity, and they're going to pounce on this. And I highly recommend that you take advantage of that. Okay. This has been awesome. I'm so excited to have shared. You guys have been a great group. You've been engaged. You've asked good questions. And I really hope that I'll work with each and every one of you in the future, either myself or Kyle. Okay. It's going to be a great application year. I feel like there's a lot less anxiety, a lot less trepidation than there has been in the past few years. And regardless, as a consultant, right, you hire us, regardless of where your application currently stands. Our job is to help put you in a more successful position to get accepted to PT school. And that's what we do. We're not here to judge you or belittle you. We are here to encourage you, to give you peace of mind and focus and control and to help you know that your dreams are attainable. The applicants that mean the most to me that I work with are the people who go from not believing that they deserve a seat as a physical therapist to the people who come out and get accepted and they're on fire. They know that they deserve to be in this community. And that's what's on the table for you. So guys, go ahead, use the promo code PREPT15. It's going to last until Tuesday, not Monday. Sorry about that typo there. Tuesday, March 8th at 11:55 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And there's only 20 spots available. So you're going to want to act ASAP. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you. I'm going to stick around, answer some questions. Okay. Giovanni, can't wait to work with you, man. It's awesome. We've been hanging around for a while. You're doing great. What other questions do y'all have? I'll be here for another 10-ish minutes. I don't even remember how long the webinar room gives me before it kicks me out, but go ahead and drop them in the chat box or the Q&A section. Thank you, Ritu. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. So Mark, you've already applied to PT school and you're waiting on the wait list for one school. So Mark, if I'm understanding your question correctly, and you can type in if I'm not, right now you're kind of in limbo because you're on a wait list. For all intents and purposes, you could be getting in, right? I've had applicants wait, they get put on hold all the way until like May or June. And then they get called up last minute because someone drops out or they go to a different school and there's a spot that opens up. So I'm not someone who's like, who says it won't happen, but we need to be objective and we need to say, okay, if it's March right now and I haven't heard from a school, my percentage or my chance of getting in is lower in general. And I might be reapplying. That doesn't make you a bad applicant. That doesn't make you a bad person. It just means it is what it is at this point. Okay. So if that's the case, you're going to apply the same steps and you're going to reevaluate your application. I highly recommend, Mark, let's sign up. Let's look at your application together and we can say, hey, here's all the things that we can do to improve it. If you get accepted and into a different program, then we could use your coaching sessions to talk about transitioning into being an SPT. Okay. Yes, Mark, more or less, we would look at your application. We would evaluate where everything's at and we would say, hey, let's look at, these are some things that we could do to improve. And I know that's like, I'm not just saying that just to get you to sign up, but if you really want to dig into it and see what things we need to do to change, first and foremost, I recommend that you reach out to all the schools that you apply to and email them and say, hey, like, you know, I'm potentially looking at reapplying this next cycle. I really want to get some feedback about what I could do to be a better applicant. They will give you their recommendation. And by and large, the things that I will recommend to you and the things that they will recommend to you will largely be the same. But again, every school is different. And if we're being specific with the programs that we're applying to, we want to use the best information possible. So I hope that answers your question, but I definitely would recommend that you sign up just so we can get you personalized, individualized information that can give you what you need to go forward. And again, if you get in, great. There's options that we have there where we can, you know, still make the coaching valuable to you as you prepare to become a student physical therapist. Yeah. Okay, Tristan. So I'm here at NAU applying for DPT school in the fall, and I've signed up for coaching. Currently, I have an appointment set up for the 5th to review my essay. Will the current prompt be different come June or July? Yes, I do think it's going to be different. It'll be similar, but it'll be different. So yes, Tristan, I saw that you'd signed up for that. If you want to, you can either, like, if you wanted to talk about your application, I'd recommend signing up for the consultation package. And then we can talk about your application, and then you're already on the list for essays coaching, and you're ready to roll. And you can save it until we know for sure what the prompt is, so we can personalize and tailor your essay. Again, in this webinar, I share with you some useful tips and tricks and things that you can do to start brainstorming. Do I think it would be a complete waste of time that if we kept your current scheduled appointment, no, I think we could still get a lot of benefit out of that. But I personally feel like it would be a good idea to wait and then until we actually have the prompt, and then we can be as specific as possible. Yeah. All right, let's go here. What can I do now regarding my PTCAS personal statement? So, Syed, the recommendations that I gave, start brainstorming, right? Start looking at your personal experiences, start taking an inventory of them so we can write individualized stories and look at your personal characteristics, traits, attributes that make you stand out. Make a list of those, start brainstorming them, and get ready to go. For everyone who may have asked this question, because I had the same thing, your personal statement or your PTCAS essay, those are the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing. It's the main PTCAS essay that's in there. Yeah. Mark, so the consultation coaching package would be best for me. At this point in time, I would say yes, Mark. The consultation coaching package would be ideal. Yeah. Tristan, yes, you can reschedule it. You can cancel it and wait to see. But since we don't know exactly when the prompt is going to be released, we don't know exactly when PTCAS is going to reopen. You can just hang on to your visits. You're still already logged under this year's cycle, and then we can say, hey, let's go ahead and use your visits at the best time once we've got the information. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. All right, Ritu, awesome. Excited to have you signed up. That's fantastic. Let's see here, Saeed. I help with all essays. So I'm talking about the PTCAS essay because that one everybody has to do, right? Everyone has to submit the PTCAS essay, but I help with all essays, all of them, from top to bottom. And if you say, like, we use the coaching system and we get your situation figured out with your application essays for your PTCAS essay, and you want more help with school-specific essays, we definitely can do that as well. And applicants, if they're like, I need more time, or I want more coaching sessions, then they definitely can sign up at a very discounted rate for additional sessions if you want help with more essays. I had one applicant this last year who worked with me for like 9 coaching hours because they loved the coaching system and they wanted to use it for all of their essays, right? So there's a lot of different options for people to get signed up and to get going. And we have, like, the biggest commitment is sign up. Let's talk about what your plan is for you individually. And then we can be specific about, hey, let's get you ready for essays. Let's get you ready for interviews, right? To everything, there is a season. And right now, we need to get your application as pretty as possible with, like, all your spreadsheet stuff, all your GPA, GRE, observation hours, references, all that stuff, your school selection. Those are the things that matter the most. Okay. Tristan, thank you so much. Mark, you're welcome. You're welcome to everybody for answering those questions. I hope that's been helpful. Just got another few minutes that I'll stick around for anyone else who's got questions. Excited to work with you guys who've already signed up. And if you're on the fence about it, you've got a few days. You can take a look and see what's going on. And you can always email me at info@physicaltherapyapplicationcoach.com. Just respond to the emails that you've been sent, and you can always email me directly if you've got questions. Okay, someone's in the chat here. You are welcome, Saeed. You are welcome. Super excited. I hope you signed up and we can start working with you. Yeah. Give you guys just another couple minutes, and then we'll let you go on your merry way. Hope you guys have some good plans for Saturday. Since I'm on vacation right now, we'll be doing it's my first big vacation that I've had in a while. So I feel kind of like I've got a little bit of a work PTSD where I'm like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. So yeah, it'll be a good time given my situation. Mark, the sooner the better. So when you've signed up, it'd be a good time. Sign up as soon as possible. So right now, Kyle, his coaching session's on there. His coaching schedule's on there. If you have any difficulties with schedules and you need to meet at a different time, we can always sort that out. It's not fixed that's the only time. So look at the available time slots that are available since you signed up, and we can move forward from there and give you the option that works best for you. Okay, guys, I think we've done it. We've done fantastic. So thank you all for hanging out. I hope to work with all of you in the future, and keep your eyes posted for the review or the replay link that'll get sent out. And have a great weekend. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.